The following program deals with a controversial subject, not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
You're in for a scare.
Look at all the cobwebs. Snake! And there's a mummy. What's in here? I don't know. It looks spooky. Do you think we should go in there? Yeah. Josh, Andrew, where? Andrew? Where? I don't know. He was here just a minute ago. I could get lost. It's really easy in a place like this. Sure can. I don't think anybody's been in here for years.
Well, you three look as if you've seen a ghost.
We did, mister. In there were ghosts and bats, and the owl turned and looked at us.
And it was hidden in the mirror. It was awful.
Sure was.
Hold on. In there?
Uh-huh. And it's haunted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, you shouldn't have been in there.
Yeah, but...
Well, but maybe it all turned out the way it's supposed to.
What do you mean, the way it's supposed to?
Well, that's my experimental haunted house, and that's where I try out my new tricks for Halloween.
You made those in tricks?
Yep. Sure as my name is William Wizzard.
A wizard? But you don't look like a wizard. I thought they wore big robes and pointy hats, like Merlin.
Well, this is a modern wizard. In fact, I'll prove it to you. This watch? Is this your watch, young woman?
It looks more like a clock.
Let it be. Okay. Well, would you guys like some flowers?
We know that one.
Oh, you know that. Well, how about this? My American Express card. Take a look.
William Wizard.
I never leave home without it. Well, so you guys believe I'm a wizard now?
Yeah.
At least William Wizard, right? Okay. How would you like at this point to go through a magic doorway and visit my laboratory where I make all of this Halloween stuff?
Oh, would you show us, see?
Sure, sure. Okay, now I have to step over here and make a magic doorway, and then we'll go through it one at a time and end up in my laboratory. Okay?
Sure. Right.
Okay.
I'm going first.
Wait a minute, Josh, that's too soon.
Josh. Josh? Andrew, I can't find Josh. He's lost again.
You're kidding.
You know, I still get a big kick out of that, even though I've done it 400 or 500 times. Oh, boy. Well, what do you think?
Where's Josh?
Josh? You didn't make it through the doorway?
No.
Oh. Well, I know what happened. You jumped a little bit too soon. But, we'll come across him before we finish the trip, I assure you that. What do you think?
It's just like in the movies. This is what a wizard's workshop really looks like.
Well, this one here is just for appearance, actually. See, that's my real one over there through the door. Let's take a look. People can do the same kind of Halloween trickery that we do with magic. Like, for instance, how about this here?
Oh, that's just a rubber snake. That's no big deal.
That's not what he was referring to.
No, not at all. He was referring to us.
They talk.
Of course we do. The good Lord gave us mouths, didn't he? Then I guess we're supposed to use them.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I never... Is that really talking, or is this another trick?
Well, I'll tell you, with this one, I can never really be sure. But you know, that's why I brought you guys here, is to teach you how to do some Halloween magic for yourselves. Well, here it is, our famous Halloween 7 computer right here. This is the one that makes all the special effects that you saw in the other labs there. Here's the Micro Fantasy microfibrillator. There's the on-off switch. There's the readout.
Is it on?
No, it's off right now. Oh, do you want me to turn it on? Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll think of one.
All right. It's turning on. It's on. It's on. Okay, I think it's warming up now. Yeah, there we go. Great. Great, okay. What's your question?
About special effects?
Yeah, Just talk into the microphone right there.
How do you make a witch fly across the sky?
I think you'll have to talk a little louder. Talk a little louder.
How do you make a witch fly? You know, across the sky and everything?
Okay, it's coming across right through the output and into the readout. All right, it says, how do you make witches fly? Buy them an airline ticket. Well, Andrew, so you're interested in a special effects costume, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about this one here? Can you tell what that is?
Cut off head.
Go pretty good with that head over there, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Good.
Well, let's see if this fits, Andrew. This is the coat that's shirt. Especially made to go with this costume.
Is the neck supposed to show?
Well, yeah, the neck shows. See, these are the eye holes. See, they look like gashes, but those are actually the eye holes. This says padding. This is a commercially available thing. You can order that through a costume shop. So step on over here. Let's see if this fits on. Okay. Can you see through the holes there?
Sure can.
Okay. Now this is kind of tricky getting this on. We're going to have to, you can see the holes. Now put it down lower because the holes are down by the pocket instead of up by the arms.
Oh, so it makes it look like it fits the shoulders and
Right.
back. Oh, I see. You have two shoulders now, Andrew.
Down by the pocket.
Wonderful.
Right. Now this would look a little better with the shirt. We'll button it up as high as we can here. Yeah, see, we need a shirt up there, don't we? Let's take this collar and turn it up. And we'll just hold it. We'll just hold this up right now. Okay, good. Now step back a little bit. Let's see how that looks.
Gross me.
Yeah. Well, as far as it goes now, we can fix this up a little later, you know, tidy that up. But why don't you try it out, see how you like that?
Oh, no wonder they didn't hurt.
Well, that was an accident, but I'm glad we found out about that. Those are made out of foam rubber, and this foam rubber has been painted with latex, and then it's been painted with paint to make it look like granite.
Spatter paint?
Spatter paint.
Did you make this one?
No, that's from a joke and novelty shop. They use those in Hollywood, like in earthquake scenes, where they have an earthquake that throws down a whole bunch of rocks. I'll bet Andrew's getting claustrophobia. But you know, I think he would look really good if we had that head. Oh yeah, right here. Thank you, Chumley. Let's see here. Why don't you put this arm head right underneath your arm? Yeah.
Oh.
You have your finger in your nose. Let's take a look at that. How does that look? Boy, now that's pretty. That looks pretty real, doesn't it?
It looks pretty disgusting. Cut it out, Andrew.
Well, let's see. I'll take this and let's go on and take a look at the. Have you seen this part over here?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, well, let's take a look.
Who'd be knocking on that door?
It's only me, Mom.
Oh, Andrew, that is the most grisly get-up I've ever seen. Where did you get?
Kmart, who's that special?
Oh,
Well, so how was that being a headless person?
I liked it a lot,
A little
but
claustrophobic, right?
yeah, I kind of like King Kong though.
King Kong?
Uh-huh.
Well, we don't have a 100-foot gorilla around here. Would you settle for a 7-foot one?
Sure.
All right. You have to go get Chumley, though. Chumley?
Oh, sorry, boss.
So this is it. This is the spiderweb testing area. This is one of our test webs right here. See that stuff? Now let me show you how we do that one. That's just monofilament.
Fishing web?
Yeah, fishing line. Right there. Not just strung around. Actually, we painted this so that it's a little bit more visible, because this stuff is kind of invisible against a background, you see. So this has been painted white. Well, let me show you something that's a lot of fun. This is from a auto supply store. This is called cheesecloth. It's the stuff that they use to dry automobiles instead of chamois. See, this stuff is very cheap. This is probably a nickel's worth right here. Okay, let's all three take it and I'll show you how to make cobwebs out of this. It looks like cobwebs, and just tear it. Just tear that. Yeah, I'll just tear it. Just tear some more. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, I think we're starting to get a spiderweb effect here. Let's spread it out. Okay, spread it out. Okay, now here's what we do see. We tack it up against this doorway. Whoops. Here, just take a piece of that and pull it out. Let's spread that out. Yeah, see? So it sort of has a look between a shroud, you know, that they used to bury people in, a torn up shroud and a spiderweb. See, like that?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now, even more fun than that is this stuff. In fact, we use this over and over again. This is called polyester. This is a single strand of polyester fiber, and this is a web. Go ahead. Yeah, just pull that out. Maybe you can take some too. Well, it sticks against like stone edges.
Totally real.
Yeah, hold that up like this and I'll test spiderweb here. See that? How does that look?
Looks real.
You just keep pulling it out. Try not to ever leave any of these big fat tufts, because then you lose the...
How do you get this to stay?
Well, you can tape it up, you can staple it up, and it will catch on rough edges like stone or rough wood, like that. So that's that. And you just wad it back up and it's ready for next Halloween. Now, the most fun of all, the cobweb machine. Here's the cobweb machine right here. This thing, sure you can do it. Okay, this you have to buy.
Did it do that?
Did those little ones right there. Hard to see those, but we're going to make a great big one that we can see. It comes with a special fluid. This is a fluid that's non-flammable. They used to use flammable fluid in these machines, and it didn't work out too well. But this is a non-flammable fluid.
Looks like glue.
Yeah, it is a glue.
That's why it's sticking to
Now
it.
look, see that disc? The little cone is filled with fluid all the way to the top. Then the disc fits on top. Then we screw that down very, very tightly.
So it doesn't leak out?
Well, you want to make a little tiny, just the tiniest little leak around the edge. As the propeller turns, centrifugal force forces the liquid out through the little crack. Tiniest little crack, and it makes little tiny filaments. So you can see some of those on the propeller from the last time we used it.
Can I do that?
Sure. Now Liz, here, let me just tell you a little bit about how to use this. Now you're going to have to stand back. We'll stand out of your way. And you just point this, turn on the trigger, stand back, and then just sort of wave that around very slowly, and you'll see the cobwebs come off. And the idea is to stick cobwebs everywhere to those white things. Okay, but wait until we step out of the way, okay?
Oh, okay.
So Andrew and I are going to leave you here alone. You just spray and spray and spray until you fill that area with cobwebs.
Okay.
Okay? Andrew, let's go to the back of the room.
Yeah?
Anytime. Yeah, stand back. Stand back. Okay, good. Higher. Yeah, all over. Don't let her touch.
That look okay?
Yeah. Well, that's looking really good.
That looks like it's getting closer.
Well, they're still dripping a little bit. You know, but then the next thing we do, Liz, is we put some powder on there. Let's see, hold this for a second. Let me go get my dusting machine. Chumley, the duster.
Okay.
Okay, here we are. Then we have the dusting machine.
Is that making it stand out more?
Yeah. Puts dust on them, particularly when they're still wet. Yes.
Fix them now?
Yeah. There we go. Look at that right in there.
That looks pretty well.
That looks pretty real. So that's cobwebs. Well, are you guys tired? Do you think you're ready to go back, or do you want to see some more stuff?
I want to see some more stuff. So do I.
Well, so this is the materialization laboratory, and we ought to be able to find the gorilla for you in here. We don't use those old magic words anymore. This little computer will search out the astrospectral image of a gorilla if there's one present in the lower stratosphere. And whenever you get the image, just punch the enter button and it'll materialize it in that cabinet. Better check the cabinet and make sure there's nothing left in there from the last time. Just open it up.
Nuh-uh.
Okay, good. So, let's see. Let's just turn it on for you here. All right. Yeah, it's searching now. So anyhow, punch in gorilla, and whenever you find one, just hit the enter button. You know, guys, I'm a little tired, so I'm going to go over here and lay down.
Wait, Mr. Wizard. Just trying. I think I have got this. Look at 9, 8, 7, 6. I told you I got it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've got it, definitely. Wrong number. What's it doing? I wish they'd just stick to the magic words. It's doing the countdown again. I think I've got it. I've got it. I know I do. Okay, we got it. I got it. Okay, ready? Maybe you better do it this time. Close. I'll give it a try. Let's see. To get rid of this stuff. Let's do it. Let's give it a try.
Well, this is how you use a good gorilla mask. You have to put the black makeup around your eyes and around your mouth so that it doesn't show through the... Let's see, first of all, I'm going to step back in the cabin. Just close it and punch up 0 on the computer, okay?
Well, that's... You better be gone. Let's hope so. Trust her anymore. Ready? Go!
Kind of cute, huh? Well, anyhow, as I was telling you guys, that isn't really me over there.
I know. How did you do it?
Well, let's step over here and I'll show you. this is one of those astrospectral doubles that I was telling you guys about. Let's see. Well, you know what we have left to do?
Make me up.
That's right. So let's get back to the makeup lab and we'll do that right now. Okay, this way. Well, Liz, I'll tell you what, why don't you wait right here? I'm going to go get Skull to keep you company, okay? Sit down right here. Well, just sit down. Yeah, he's happy, I think. Let's see. Now, what do you think we're going to do with you now?
Well, matey!
Oh, Skull, that's silly. Listen, what we're going to do is we're going to make you up as a witch using stuff that you can get at any costume shop, any costume store, even dime stores. And you're going to turn into a long-nosed, warty, squinty-eyed witch.
Wait a minute! Before you do that, I'm sitting in her lap and I don't even know her name.
Well, Skull, you have mental powers. You still have a brain. Why don't you concentrate?
All right, let's see. I see an L. I see an I. I see a S. No. Wait. It's a Z. Her name is Liz.
Well, I guess
Is that right?
Right. All right. That's good. Good, Skull. Very good. Okay.
But my name! How do you know my name?
You really want to know?
Yeah!
Well, look at it's in your label.
My mom put my name on my label for summer camp. That's not magic. It's a trick.
Well, you can't be too sure about that all the time. All right, we're going to use some cement here to stick this nose down. Now, let's see. First I have to fight. That's right.
It stinks to you.
Okay, I just want to get a general idea. You know, gee, that stuff is even...
It sticks by itself. You don't need any more.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. Let's see. Oh, yeah, sure, that's good. Let me pull this down.
Do they use this on everybody when they make up? Did they use this in the Wizard of Oz?
Here, I have to put a little tiny bit here. Because this is the little thing that keeps your nose stuck down, okay? You know, I probably should cut that off a little bit. Yeah, we'll just give you a little mustache there later. Okay, now here's your warty chin. These are commercial things, you know, you can make them the way we made those latex, so what do you think of that, Skull? Yeah, he likes that. Okay, here's your warty chin.
There's the wart, there's the other wart.
All right, here we go, Liz.
Did they do this in the Wizard of Oz?
Sure. You know what, I think what we're going to do with this one is, this has a little bit of cement on it, but we're going to redo it on here a little bit.
Pew, 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 pew.
Okay. Let's touch this up a little bit.
What's this made of?
Well, this is called duosurgical cement, and you can use spirit gum. Surgical cement you use if you're just going to put it on for a short time. And that's what we're going to do here.
Well, why would you want to put it on with anything else?
Well, if you use spirit gum, you can wear it to a party and you can wear it all night long. You're looking better already, Liz.
Thanks.
I think she's cute.
Well, you would, Skull. That's the kind of taste you have. All right, let's see. Now, what do we need? I guess we need your face to be green, don't we? Mm-hmm. That thing bothers me. We're going to have to cut that off pretty soon. Okay. Now, let's just put some.
Have you done this a lot before?
Sure. I did it yesterday once. Well, actually, I thought about doing it yesterday. Now, just how green do you want to be?
Light green. Just like I look like I'm sick.
Sick. I like that. I'm green with envy.
Oh, Skull.
Sorry.
You know, I wish I had my little time machine here because we could snap my fingers and we would be half an hour ahead.
Did it work?
Well, that saves a lot of time, doesn't it? See, that's coming unstuck a little bit, but, you know, there's something missing, Liz. I don't know exactly what it is.
It's here. Thank you, Hand. Hey, bye. Those are fake, aren't they?
Nah, you can never really tell about those. You know, we have some fake spider webs that real spiders have decided to inhabit around here. Let's see, can you pull that down?
It's not working.
Okay, it has a little elastic thing in it, okay? Really, we should have tucked your hair up first, you know. You know, the way to do this is you take a pantyhose, and just put...
Like robbers.
Like what? Like robbers do? Yeah, except, you know, put it over your face. Now you're a witch, so you want to let your face show here.
Any touch-ups?
Any touch-up, sure. Let's see what we got. Here.
I look old and squinty.
Nasal labial. Let's give you a little character here.
You just put it wherever they wrinkle and you crease.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, is you crease up your face and then you just find those wrinkles.
Okay.
Okay, so snarl a little bit. Yeah.
Can you put it on with like any eyeliner or anything?
Yeah, we already have the eyeliner on. We did that when the clock was accelerating.
But what do you use to make those creases and stuff?
Well, you put dark where there'd be shadow, and then you put light lines wherever there would be highlights. So the top of the crease, the top of each fold has a dark line, and then the bottom of each crease has a... Skull's getting real mad there. Better come on. Okay. He likes to sit on your lap. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Now, make a few faces.
It's not working right. I can't keep quiet.
Well, that's pretty good, except we're coming loose here. Well, good. You know, you would really look good in the dungeon right now. Oh, wait a minute. We need one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anne. Uh-oh. That's not me. That's a gorilla.
Oh, let me see. Oh, that must be from one of Skull's friends previously. Istus Caestus, Simus Buddhis, Alele Poscade. See, sometimes the magic words do work.
I really do look like a witch. Except for my braces.
Well, here we are. You know, I'm glad that you guys got to take a look at the cauldron, but let's see, there's some more stuff in here. Yeah, that's the Book of Spells. If you see, you know, Ebenrude is around here. He's the guardian of the Book of Spells. If you see something odd, don't pay any attention to him. Yeah, this is where all the power comes from. I mean, you can read that if you want, because it takes the magic staff in order to make any of the spells work. So, I think that's pretty interesting.
Sure is. Oh, Mr.
Yeah.
Wizard.
Yeah. What?
What did you say?
Oh, yeah, isn't that something here? Look, you take these. This must have your teeth right there. And on the nose like that. Yeah, it's just...
What happened?
Liz!
Oh,
Andrew!
Mr. Wizard, I'm over here!
Oh! My! That was really something, wasn't it? Do you know what happened?
No.
Well, that was Ebenrude. Did you see him? He had Andrew read the Book of Spells, and that projected us right back through the doorway.
We're back where we started?
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, I think we better go and see if we can find Andrew.
And Josh.
Oh, and Josh. I'm going to go this way. Why don't you try that way over there?
I'm over here. Wow, what a trip. You really messed that one up. When you read from that book, you sent us straight back where we started from.
Oh, be quiet. If I had my wand, I would turn you into a frog.
You wouldn't.
You never know. One day I just might do it.
Well, we have to find Josh. Hey, I'm over here. Will you help me, please?
Oh, there you are, Joshua. We've been looking all over for you.
Where are you guys?
I don't believe this. You've been hiding the whole time.
Oh, funny. Real funny. Ahead. Hey, it's only a joke. Loosen up.
Hey, listen, Josh, we've been looking all over for you. You know, you went through that doorway and disappeared. No, you missed all of the fun.
Where have you been? I'm not telling.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
One of those guys. Well, come on, guys.
You dressed me up like this witch. You put this on me and all this makeup, and there was this girl who really talked. I mean, you really did.
Well, guys, I guess this is goodbye. I hope you guys learned something that you can use in your next Halloween.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm sorry, Andrew, but I need this to get back. And I'm going to need the wig. I'll tell you what. Liz, you can keep the cape, you know, and it's a magic cape, too. Goodbye, Andrew. Now, listen, Josh, you come by before Halloween, and I'll take you on a private tour of my laboratory. You missed out this time.
Great.
Goodbye, Liz.
Thank you. A frog, eh? We'll just see about that. I'm gonna get you anyway.
If you're interested in special effects, you probably have a good career ahead of you. Now, even if you don't, you can use special effects for Halloween. In fact, the newspaper is a good starting place. That's what we lay out before we start. So what we're doing here in my laboratory is showing you how to make special effects in your own home for a few pennies. Now we're going to get into the real stuff. This is the icky, messy, bloody, gruesome stuff guaranteed to gross out Granny. Let me show you some professional appliances. These are called prostheses or latex appliances. Let me show you some professional appliances that you can buy in a costume shop or special effects shop. This is called the enucleated eye effect. Let me put this on for you. Pretty gross. We're going to teach you not only how to make some similar effects yourself, but also how to apply them. This is called the torn cheek effect. This is a stomach wound. This is something that you apply to your stomach and you tear your t-shirt away and show this area as though it's been wounded. Now, what are the steps involved in making these latex appliances or prostheses? Well, you start with a positive, and you make the positive out of plasticine clay. I have a little piece of plasticine right here. You're going to make a mold of that, so let's go ahead and build that up in this little plastic dish. The simplest thing to make is a gash, maybe a gash with a that's been sutured, that's been sewn closed. And that's the basic shape of the gash, just looks like a snake with two tails. Press that down onto your surface, and then smooth out that a little bit. Now you're going to make a slit right down the middle of it. Then you're going to put in the sutures. Now when this appliance is cast, you can actually take black thread and sew it through the rubber of the appliance to make it look as though it's actually been sutured. We're going to make the holes for the rubber in the little slots right now. Just use the tip of the knife and just put a bunch of suture marks down one side and step across and go down the other side. Now what you have, your positive actually looks like the wound itself. And if this positive were painted in flesh color and red and put a little bit of color in there, that would look like a wound just as it is. Now in order to make the rubber prosthesis, though, the appliance, you're going to have to make a negative mold from this. This is your positive, and now you're going to make a negative. We're going to use plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris you buy in a hardware store. This is approximately pre-measured. For a thing this size, you'd use probably 1/4 cup of plaster. There's the water, pre-measured amount of water. You always add the plaster to the water. And you'll figure out by using it just about how much plaster you need to make up the mixture that sort of is like oatmeal or cream of wheat in consistency. When it gets like peanut butter, it's just a little bit too thick. When it's like soup, it's a little bit too thin. So you mix that up. Now, let me tell you a little trick you can use to take the bubbles out of this material. You take the mixture now at the consistency of oatmeal and just tap it on the table. And keep tapping it until the little tiny bubbles are no longer visible on the surface. That will take all the bubbles out. Will mean that when you make a cast of this positive, when you make a negative mold from it, it's going to be bubble-free, and the rubber latex prosthesis that you make is going to be perfect and without any little bubbles. So just tap that a while. When all of the little tiny bubbles are gone from the surface, you know that you're ready to pour. We poured one just a moment ago, and you can see that right here. We're going to try to pour this one. It'll look much the same as this when we're through. Start at one end and make sure that it's completely covered. Now, you're going to probably pour a little bit along the spine to make sure that it's thick enough across the spine there. So that's it. Now you set that aside for probably half an hour to 45 minutes because that has to cure. Okay, let's take a look at our mold. The plaster is hardened now. You can tell by trying to scratch the surface. It doesn't scratch easily. There's our plasticine clay positive. I'm going to pick that out. Just roll it right out. And look, there's our bubble-free negative mold. Now by brushing or pouring in liquid latex into this area and letting it dry, we're going to create ourselves a latex appliance that we can then paint and apply to our skin, and this will look like a very nasty gash that's been sutured, particularly if we then sew through with black thread on these little suture lines that we've made. There goes the ambulance to get the guy who has a gash like this. Instead of painting, I'm going to use the slush molding technique. I'm filling the mold with a rather thick liquid latex. Making sure that it goes around the outside edges so that we get our feathering. I'm going to dump this out and show you what it looks like before we dry it. I poured out the excess latex, leaving a thin layer at the top, letting the interior be thick. When this dries, that can be removed from the mold and painted, and then the sutures sewn through. You can speed the drying of the latex prosthesis, the appliance, by using a hair dryer or putting it in an oven at about 150 but no greater than 200 degrees. Now since I was doing this, I also added a little tiny bit of red latex right down here on the bottom so to make it easier to make up when I put it on. I made the red latex by taking a cup and some liquid latex and adding some red food coloring to it until it got the color that I liked. And then just take this little brush and paint the red latex right in the bottom. Now here's a trick for taking the latex piece out of the mold. You know, rubber tends to stick to itself, particularly liquid latex, so we're going to brush some talcum powder or face powder, baby powder, onto the outside. Now as we start peeling it up, as we lift it up and start peeling it back, we're going to put some face powder or talcum powder underneath as we brush into the mold and onto the rubber piece, mainly onto the rubber piece. And that's so it doesn't stick to itself. then we'd get a little scrunchy looking thing that wouldn't do us very much good as a latex prosthesis. Now there's our latex prosthesis, and you can see that with that red tint coming through the latex, it gives it a nice tone to start with. We sort of have the fleshy tone around the outside, then we have the red tone down the middle where the tissue would be reddened. Now that prosthesis, the next thing we would do is take our black thread and sew through those suture lines, and then apply spirit gum, and we can apply it to our skin like that. Remember, this is what we started with. We started with a clay master like this, and we end up with the latex prosthesis like that. Now here's a second way. That's making a negative mold. Now there's a way you can use a positive to get the same thing. Here's a nose. We've started to make a witch's nose. Let's say we add a little wart here to the side. Now we can use this, you can even have undercuts. That is, as the rubber goes around the part, it'll pull off because it's rubber and it stretches. So you can even have undercuts in a positive latex mold. When you get the nose approximately how you want it, now you're going to paint the latex directly onto this, and then you put it in the sun to dry, or take a hair dryer to dry it. But since this is clay, you don't want to get it very hot because you're going to melt the clay. Let's go back to our latex and start applying some latex to this. You're going to cover all surfaces, and again you're going to put a little bit around the edge here. That's going to be your feathered edge that you're going to use to glue to your face. Make sure you fill in around the undercut there. So we're going to come back to this in a bit and show you what this thing looks like after the latex is dry. Well, we're ready to see what we have here with our nose. We're going to powder the outside first before we try to take the latex off. Peeling, we're going to add plenty of powder to keep it from sticking to itself. We have a little trim job to do. Let me trim it up and then we'll come back to it. And this is our finished latex witch's nose, complete with wart. Now, eyeballs are a very useful thing to have in a haunted house. You can put them in the mad scientist laboratory, like in a glass beaker. You can use them to make heads, realistic-looking heads. You can also use this as a prosthesis, too, by cutting this ping pong ball in half, making sure the edges aren't sharp, and then using spirit gum or duo surgical adhesive to glue it over your eye. Then you can use derma wax, or you can use nose putty to make an eyeball and blend it right in and make it look very hideous. So we just took a ping pong ball, used a fine red marker to make the blood vessels, and these are greatly exaggerated to make the eye look hideous. And we used watercolors to paint the iris, and then the pupil is made with a black felt pen. So these are very easy to make, and you can make up a bunch of them. Now if you want to, you can use liquid latex and apply liquid latex around here and let it dry to make the beginning of an eyelid. And you can also take either crepe hair, which is the fake hair that you would get at a costume shop, or fine pieces of monofilament, the fish line, and stick those in the edge of the latex to make it look like eyelashes. Here is a commercially available eye, and there are all kinds of these. Look in hobby shops, look in magic stores and novelty shops, and I'm sure you'll find a whole variety of fake eyeballs that you can use. You know, hard-boiled eggs have been used for eyeballs too, and they work pretty good. So these eyeballs can be used to make the severed heads, and we'll take that subject up next. Now this is a professional severed head that we manufacture at a Wizard & Friends. Now this is a little expensive for your average small haunted house. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make your own severed head. Now this severed head has taxidermy eyeballs, and it's cast out of a solid rubber material, so it weighs very much like a real head would. And it has a wig, human hair wig. Now let's just show you what we can use for a basis to make a severed head. Let's use a wig form. This happens to be a plastic one, but you could use the styrofoam wig form. It might even be a little better because you can carve it and mold it a little bit. I've chosen a mummy head, but you could use any kind of head. You could use the old man. You could use even Dracula. Any of the over-the-head masks. The over-the-head masks are a complete head all the way around, and that's why it's so easy to make a severed head. Now this is a rubber mask, and you notice that it's stuffed with newspaper, and that's a good idea because the stuffing keeps the mask stretched and keeps it from sticking to itself. Rubber masks eventually, as they get old, will stick to themselves. So if you stuff your mask and lightly dust it with talcum powder or cornstarch and put it in a plastic bag and seal the bag, your mask is going to last a long time. So we'll put the mask over the wig form. Since the mask is so realistic, you almost have a severed head already. But let's add a couple of eyeballs and see how that looks. Now this kind of eyeball is smaller than the ping pong ball. This is available at novelty shops, magic shops, costume shops, or even dime stores. Let's put one in and see how it looks. You know, you can give these guys expressions by making the eyes cross-eyed, or making them look out, making them look up, or making them look to the side. Now we have our ping pong ball eyes. Let's try the ping pong ball eyes, see how they look. Well, there we have your normal, average, bug-eyed mummy. Those are the ping pong balls in a standard over-the-head masks over a wig form. Now, if you use the styrofoam wig form, the next step would be to cut it off here and to fill in that space with paper mache or maybe modeling clay, and then paint that so that it looks like a cut-off head. You can also stick a short piece of wooden dowel in there to make it look like part of the spine. So that's your basic, simple, severed head made from an over-the-head mask, wig form, and eyeballs of whatever type you choose. Well, this skull costs $3 at a dime store. This skull costs $3 at a dime store, but it's been dressed. And what that means in the profession is that we've added some touches to it to make it look more realistic and to make it look really ugly. Now, how do you do that? You take this kind of skull and you use, again, liquid latex, and you can use some of our spiderweb material, and we can also use, very importantly, the cheesecloth. Well, here's how we do that. Again, start with our liquid latex, and let's get some cheesecloth ready. We just need a small piece of cheesecloth to start with. And let's pull off a few fibers here, too, of the web material. So that's our starting material, the skull, some cheesecloth, and the latex. I'm going to do half of this skull just so you can see the difference between them. Now, you don't have to do the eyes or the teeth necessarily, but let's just apply that pretty liberally. So what we're doing is just putting one layer of liquid latex. Now, the liquid latex, when it dries, is going to make it looks sort of like an icky, dried-up skin on the surface of the skull. Now, let's stretch some of our cheesecloth material over that. Now, when you add the cheesecloth, you're going to go around the eyes because you don't want to put this into the eyes, actually. Remember, we're just doing half, so you can see that I'm just covering half of this with the cheesecloth. Put a little bit down here on the jawbone. You've got skin on your jawbone, right? If I were making one of me, I guess I'd have to put a few whiskers on there, wouldn't I? Now you can add a little bit more latex to that if you like. The latex really has a blending effect. Now let's see what a little bit of this stuff looks like. Let's take some spiderweb material. Stick that on. Maybe wet that down a little bit here and there. That makes sort of a icky, stringy texture. See, now that doesn't have any color in it, but it still looks pretty icky already, doesn't it? So what we're going to do next is we're going to add coffee grounds, sawdust, dirt, any coarse texture, and we'll lay that over here. Then we're going to paint it, and then we'll come back and surprise you with it. While the latex is wet, we've applied some dirt. You can see that this sucker is already looking pretty good, looking pretty old and pretty grody. The next step is to apply the paint to make it look even more realistic and to read well at a distance. Now we've applied some paint to do the finishing touches on our dressed dime store skull. Here's some green. Actually, two colors of green, if you notice. The two colors gives it a very fungus, moldy look. And this is a rust brown, sort of a basic rust brown that we've applied everywhere, darker in some places and lighter in some places, to give it a very ancient look. Do the painting unevenly, so it gives it a lot of modeling. you can make a pretty hideous looking skull. Looks like it just came out of a tomb or just came out of an archaeological dig. Now here are just a few things that you can get at your Halloween shops, costume shops, novelty shops. These are all special effects items and well made. This is the moving hand. The moving hand has a battery pack, and it has forwards and backwards, so the hand can be made to reverse its motion too. And one of the new items with the moving hand is the sleeve. And with the sleeve, that becomes more interesting because you can put the battery pack inside of the sleeve and slip the hand into that, and now you have an arm and the battery pack is totally concealed. You can bury the arm piece halfway on the ground, and you can have a moving hand looking as though it's trying to get out of the ground. If you have two adjoining graves, you can have the hands tilted and they're trying to reach each other. And that looks pretty spooky, I'll tell you. So that's the moving hand. Now, the same mechanism came out just this year inside of a beating heart. Here's the beating heart. I'll show you the reversing motion. It doesn't do very much in the heart, but you can reverse it. Actually, maybe you could even get a better beating look by reversing it back and forth, back and forth. So that's the beating heart. And of course, snakes. Snakes come in many, many sizes. This is the big 36-inch snake. You can get snakes down to little tiny 6-inch rubber snakes. The rubber snakes are terrific for haunted houses. You can hang those around, and people have almost an instantaneous reaction to anything that even looks like a snake. So snakes are real good. And so are spiders. Again, this is taking advantage of people's instantaneous reactions. They see a rubber spider. Partly they know that it's a rubber spider, but they still react to the shape and look of a spider. Rubber spiders, all different kinds. This is the big giant swamp spider. Body parts. You can buy a lot of different body parts. Buy ears. Here's a typical finger. And these are very inexpensive. In the Mad Scientist Lab or the Body Parts Morgue, you can have jars and jars of fingers and ears and noses. Here's a whole hand, and this is, you can buy hands in the cheap models for a couple of dollars or something like this for $15 that's better molded. It has the fingerprints, the bones are reticulated, and that's a deluxe severed hand. So these are just a few of the things that you can get in dime stores, novelty shops, Halloween shops, costume shops, and magic stores that you can use in your own haunted house. Now I'm going to show you how to make a gorilla suit out of 2 yards of black fur material. Just 2 yards. You might want to get 2.5 just to be sure. You buy the black fur material that's 60 inches wide. Take your 2 yards of material and just fold it in half. Then you're going to cut the arms out. The arms are 16 inches long. You better have a paper and pencil handy for this because we're going to be spouting off an awful lot of numbers. So 16 inches, then you curve it in until the bottom comes out to be 30 inches wide. The 2 pieces that you cut off are simply folded in half and stitched up, and they become the legs. We'll get back to the legs in just a moment. Now you sew up the body, it's just like a tunic. You sew up the bottom of the arms and down the sides. Of course, you sew it when it's inside out. That's how you sew fur. Keep the little flap, when you cut the neck hole, keep the flap on because that flap will help you disguise the back of your own neck when you put on the gorilla costume. See, there's a little flap. That's the flap that we cut out when we cut a hole about 12 inches in diameter to get our head through, and leave the back half of that flap hanging on. Now, there isn't much else to do with this gorilla costume except to cut a piece of black naugahyde 20 inches by 24 inches. And then you take darts on the naugahyde and shape it generally to make a stomach and to make the breast up here. We even put a little bit of fur in the belly button. Now, to finish off your gorilla costume, you're going to need a pair of hands. I suggest that you buy the hands. You could sew them out of naugahyde and glue the black fur on, but much easier to buy these hands in a costume shop. And here are the gorilla feet again. Much easier to buy the gorilla feet than it is to make these. Although, again, you could sew them if you're clever out of black naugahyde. And, of course, the finishing touch on this costume right here is the head. And to go with our costume, we bought a medium price head. Heads range from, say, $8 to $10 up to $250. This is about an $80 head. This head has a movable jaw, has teeth, and has a very good looking appearance, and that the color of the face matches our naugahyde pretty well. This also has its full head, of course, and it has a Velcro strap that pulls the face right into the eye sockets so that your eyes look like they're the gorilla's eyes. Your chin fits into the chin piece, and as you move your mouth, the gorilla mouth moves. Now, you have to paint your lips black, and you have to put black around your eyelids so that when your eyelids show, they don't show white against the black of the gorilla skin. The gorilla skin is black. So that's a little tip on putting on the mask and making the mask look realistic. Now, when you put on this gorilla suit, the top just goes on like a shirt, and the bottom leg pieces slip over your legs, and you put on a pair of suspenders and hook the suspenders onto these legs to hold the legs up. So the legs are on like pants legs. The top just goes over like a shirt. Since this is black fur and these are black, the bottom edge of this just blends into this. Now, to make the gorilla look bulky, as gorillas are, gorillas have very massive chests, you should stuff some foam into here or tie a pretty good-sized pillow around your chest and around your stomach to make the gorilla look full as it's supposed to. Otherwise, it looks like like pajamas on a string bean. It doesn't look very convincing. So that's some tips again. This is 60 inches wide. It's 2 yards, folded in half. You cut the arms so that they're going to be 8 inches wide, tapering to about 12 inches wide here at the base. The arms are 16 inches long, and you cut this at a slight angle so that the bottom of the gorilla suit is 30 inches across when you finish sewing. So that means you have to allow about a ½ inch on each side, or 1 inch total for hems. These pieces are about 30 inches long, and they're about 24 inches wide before they're folded over and sewn. So that's the entire gorilla costume, and I hope that you make one up and have as much fun as we've had at WizardWorks with our gorilla. Well, since this video is about special effects and haunted houses, I'd like to give you a few tips about Halloween safety. Now, when you go out trick-or-treating for Halloween and you're wearing a mask, take it off before you cross the street and be sure you look both ways. If your Halloween costume is dark, then put some reflective tape or tie a white handkerchief around your arm. That's so that the people driving the automobiles can see you in the dark. Because if you're wearing black and it's dark, they can't see you. Another thing, try to eat dinner before you go out trick-or-treating, and that way you won't be tempted to get into those munchies before you get home, and you'll be able to check through with your parents and make sure that none of that bad stuff that 1 or 2 people out of a million stick in those trick-or-treat bags. Also, instead of trick-or-treating, you might want to put together a block party, a Halloween block party, or maybe even work with your city and put on a big party for all of the kids in the neighborhood or all of the kids in the city or community. And that way you don't have to go trick-or-treating, and you still have the fun of dressing up, and you still have the fun of Halloween. Halloween is a big opportunity to dress up and be the craziest you can be in the whole year. Another thing about Halloween safety is when you're making your haunted house and you have something scary like a spider dropping down in front of somebody, the old spider and the thread trick, make sure that that doesn't scare them and they don't back up into a china closet or fall over a balcony or fall into a swimming pool. Okay, we hope that you can use the information on this videotape and many of the special effects that we've shown you how to do. Now here's a few other ideas just before we conclude. You can use a Mr. Microphone and a small portable radio that you can hide inside of a pumpkin, inside of a skull, in a little box or in a little tiny coffin, and you can have that box, skull, pumpkin, or coffin talk to people through your Mr. Microphone. You can be hidden even in another room. That's one idea. Another idea is that you can put dry ice in your hot tub, because the hot tub's already hot and the dry ice will bubble, and put a lot of plastic seaweed or plastic leaves. Then you can have a monster that's weighted so it will stay sunk, and the monster's tied to a piece of fish line that goes over a hook above it so that you can pull it slowly out of the hot tub amidst all of the bubbling dry ice and through the seaweeds, and that looks really terrifying, particularly if you put a green or blue light shining on it. That's one more idea. Another idea is that you can have a chest, like a pirate's chest, sitting in your living room or sitting in your haunted house. The chest opens and a skull flies out. And of course, from seeing this videotape, you know that you're going to open the chest with a piece of fish line that's going through a hook above, and the skull will fly out of the chest because it's also tied to a second piece of fish line. The chest can be full of jewels and things like that, and that can be a pirate motif. Now, as an owner of this videotape, you have a couple of privileges that I'd like to tell you about. You can write to us and ask us any questions you have about special effects, and we'll answer them for you. You can also write to us and ask us for sources for the materials you've seen in this videotape, and we'll tell you where you can purchase them in your own area or how to get them by catalog or by mail. Now, your second privilege is even more exciting because we have compiled the Haunted House Handbook. And in this handbook, we tell you all about all of the stuff that you've seen on this videotape, plus how to get free public service announcements on television and radio, how to get newspaper space to promote your organization's haunted house, how to make sure that your safety is covered in your haunted house when you have one open for the public, how to get your permits, all of the permits that you need to run a fundraising event as a haunted house. All here in our Haunted House Handbook. The gorilla costume is in here in detail too. So be sure to send off for one, and here's how.
And that concludes this episode of Candy Bar Creepshow Presents. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button below to get notifications on new episodes of Candy Bar Creepshow Presents. Follow us on Instagram at candybar_creepshow. And for more content, check us out on our website, candybarcreepshow.com. Thanks for listening. Stay creepy. XOXO.